1 a.m. A cloudburst was pounding outside. Raindrops cracked like BB pellets against the slope of the underground garage entrance, so loud it was frightening. I sat in my car, engine idling, headlights staring straight at an EV charger just ahead. This was the basement of License Tech in Riverdale's high-tech zone, Chase's company. He climbed out of his car, yanked my door open. A slap of sound, a folder landed on the passenger seat. I picked it up. Divorce papers. Luna got me through Series B. I owe her a title, he said. I didn't even lift an eyelid. I stepped out, pressed the papers against the charger in the glare of my headlights. He offered a pen. I took it. Metal barrel, ice cold. Flipped to the last page and signed. Serena. I glared at those 3 letters. Suddenly I was back here 3 years ago, same charger. Chase had been glowing like a kid. From behind his back he'd produced something and opened it on this very pedestal. A 3D printed model, an irregular ring. He'd named it Daylight, he said. He'd slipped the still fuzzy plastic circle onto my ring finger. Perfect fit. Serena, I'll make your light climb the world's rooftops, he'd vowed. License Tech is yours too. And now? Before my light had climbed anywhere, he was handing the title to someone else. I gave the signed papers back.
Done, I said.
He scanned them, tucked them away. Serena, it's Ms. Vance. I cut in. He froze. I spun away, climbed back in, slammed the door. The car leaped up the ramp and dived into the storm. In the mirror, the garage shrank, a pinprick.
Gone.
Next morning, City Hall, 9:58 a.m. We sat on plastic chairs in the waiting area, 2 empty seats between us. Alex, laughter, whispers, a child crying. Our row was silent. Neither of us spoke. I stared at the red digits on the wall clock, ticking second by second. Number A137, window 3. I stood. Chase followed. The clerk, a stone-faced woman, slid 2 forms forward. Verify the details. If they're correct, sign. I took the pen, signed without reading, pushed the forms to him. He lifted them, studied every line. Serena.
Ellis.
It's Ms. Vance, I said, soft but sharp. His hand hovered. Seconds later, he lowered his head and signed. The clerk retrieved the papers, checked them. Photos. We had them taken yesterday. Scarlet backdrop, 2 each. I produced mine. He produced his. She raised the steel stamp over 2 small crimson booklets. Clack. At that instant his phone rang, a piano tune. I recognized it. Luna playing Midnight Sun, the piece she endlessly posts. He glanced at the screen, lips twitching, silenced the call. She pushed the divorce certificates across, 1 for me, 1 for him. I rose first, claimed mine. A featherlight pamphlet. Congratulations, Ellis. You got what you wanted. I walked away, never looking back to see his face or whether he answered the phone. Outside, the sun blazed, blinding. I hailed a cab, straight from City Hall to the law office. Attorney Sarah was waiting with a cup of hot water. Thought it through. I nodded. Then we proceed as planned. I slid a flash drive across the desk. Everything's in here. 1. The 5 core algorithm patents of Aurora project are in my name. Order License Tech to cease use immediately. 2. 8 unreleased PV integrated lighting schemes, my IP. They have only drafts. Warn them off development or display. 3. The Aurora logo above their front door. Trademark owner, me. They have 3 business days to remove it. Zhang pocketed the drive. Understood. The demand letters will hit their legal department and Chase's personal inbox before 5. Thanks, I said and left. Outside I ducked into a corner cafe, ordered an iced bitter. I watched strangers pass and thought of nothing. The phone stayed silent until 4:30. Chase called. I picked up. Serena, what the hell? Exactly what it sounds like. Aurora is a company initiative. How can the patents be personal? Ask yourself where you were when we filed them. Silence. The day the project was approved, he'd been celebrating Luna's birthday. I'd signed every page alone. Those schemes were developed on company resources, he protested. Resources? A handful of laptops and the $1,200 Riley you paid me? You're even clawing back the storefront trademark? Have you lost your mind? Ellis, it's Ms. Vance. I'm reclaiming what's mine. Your company's 72% tech mode is me. I hung up and blocked him. Silence at last. 11 p.m. Back at the apartment we'd shared. Half empty now. I packed the last of my books, some scale models I hadn't hauled away. The phone buzzed. Zoe had sent a clip. Shaky footage, obviously sneaked at Paris's lighting biennale. Chase stood beside Luna, explaining an installation. She beamed. Final seconds, a hotel room window, sane lights glittering. Caption: Look at the lovebirds in Paris. Recognize the suite.
I did.
3 years ago I'd booked it. Our promise to visit the Biennale once Aurora took off. I kept packing. Deep in a cabinet, I found a matte black box, a laser-etched miniature of the award-winning installation, one of 100. I'd queued 3 months for it, our anniversary gift, meant for Paris. I carried it to the kitchen, lifted the trash lid. Leftover takeout, fruit peels. I let go. The box landed with a dull thud. I closed the lid. My stomach lurched. Hand over mouth, I rushed to the bathroom, retched over the bowl. Only sour bile. I sat on the icy tiles a long time. Still queasy, I hauled myself up, rinsed at the sink. The bitter taste wouldn't leave. In the mirror, my face was gray. Too many all-nighters. Low fever, hovering 99.8 to 100.4 F, wouldn't break. I popped meds, nothing. On the 4th day, I went to the hospital. Register, queue into the office. The doctor was someone I knew, Dr. Hale, family friend, sports medicine Ph.D.
Trouble.
Fever for days. He listened, checked my throat. Probably flu, but let's run blood work to be safe. I was paying when he passed the lab line, saw the wait. Come with me. He led me to an empty treatment room, tied the tourniquet, flicked the needle in. Make a fist. Dark blood filled the vial.
I'll bring you the results, he said.
Half an hour later he returned, expression odd. I scanned to the bottom. No virus, just HCG, number sky high. Handwritten note. Recommend OB/GYN follow-up. My hand shook. What does it mean? He sat beside me. You're pregnant. My mind blinked. Then the calendar clicked. Last time was the final nights of the divorce cooling off, our ugliest fight. Afterwards he'd held me, apologizing over and over. Serena, let's try again. I'd believed him. How far along? About 11 weeks.
Exactly.
I folded the slip into my bag. Dr. Hale, book me a termination appointment. He stared. Yenzhou. When's the earliest? 14 days.
Done.
On pre-op day, he ran full labs. At the end, he paused. Old injury to your right hand. Yeah, chronic.
How?
Laser cutter slipped. He inspected the pale line on my wrist. Fine tremor when you draft. I blinked. Lately, yes. Delicate lines wavered. I'd blamed fatigue. The blade's severed tendon. Scar adhesions are pulling on nerves and flexors. Another week and precision is gone permanent. Each word landed like a hammer. My mind flashed back 3 years. Licensed tech chasing a government RFP bid. The centerpiece, an architectural mock-up chase dubbed Wall of Perpetual Day. To meet deadline, I locked myself in for 72 hours, coffee and energy drinks the only fuel. On the final night, I was using a laser cutter to carve a tiny detail. My eyes were swimming, one tremor of my hand, and the blade skated sideways. A slit opened across my wrist. Blood welled instantly. I didn't go to the hospital. I only rinsed it with antiseptic, then wrapped gauze around it so tightly my skin buzzed. And kept working. Next morning, I handed Chase the finished model. He was pleased. That project went to Sterling Corp. He turned the piece over in his hands, delighted. I stood beside him, my own hand mummified like a dumpling. At last he noticed. Hard work, he said. I'll take you out for late-night bites one of these days. I'm still waiting for that snack. He never asked about my hand again. When I left Dr. Hale's clinic, I drove straight to the old lane in Southtown where my parents still live. I pushed open the courtyard gate. Eleanor was trimming an orchid pot. The shears clanged to the ground when she saw me. What brings you here at this hour? I didn't answer. I walked inside. Edward sat in the living room reading the paper. He froze when he saw me. Have you eaten? I shook my head. I swung my backpack onto the coffee table and pulled out a hard drive, plugged it into the big wall screen TV. My parents came and stood behind me. I clicked open the first folder. Its name, Record of Absences. Inside were 7 years of screenshots I had collected. Chase skiing in Switzerland with Luna. The urgent project emails I sent him. Read, never answered. Chase raising a paddle at auction with Luna. My 37 unanswered calls. Chase celebrating Luna's birthday. In the background of the photo hung a sketch of Sterling Corp's newest lamp, the draft I had drawn overnight. One by one I scrolled down with the remote. The living room was silent except for Edward's breathing, growing heavier. I opened the second folder. Stolen credit press kit. Article after article casting him as a genius self-made founder. Next to every core technology mention, I had pasted my original manuscript scans. And every patent application for the Daylight Project, applicant. Serena, signature clear. Last, I opened an image, my obstetric report. 11 weeks. I turned off the TV. Edward chain smoked, ash falling on his trousers unnoticed. Eleanor said nothing. She didn't cry, didn't curse. She walked to the center of the room where her practice mat always lay, slipped off her slippers, put on her pointe shoes. No music. In silence, she began to dance. An excerpt from Swan Lake. The Black Swan's final solo I had watched countless times as a child. Every spin, every rise to toe, driven by fury. The last pose hung in the air. She stood there, chest heaving, and looked at me. My daughter does not dance the guillotine, she said. Next day, I went to the bank and mortgaged the premarital condo I had bought after my first job, small but in a prime Riverdale location. The loan manager scanned the papers, then looked at me. Ms. Vance, are you sure you won't reconsider? No. He said no more. After signing, I walked out with $8 million in seed money. I used it to lease an abandoned shipyard on Eastport waterfront, vast, hollow, smelling of rust and diesel. Sunlight leaked through punctures in the high roof, spotting the oil-stained floor. A heavy-set landlord handed me a dust-filmed contract. Yearly rent, utilities on you. Fine. I signed, paid the first year. He tossed me a fat ring of keys. It's yours now. I hired a crew and started rebuilding. 1 week just to haul garbage. Then new wiring, partitions, paint. I was on site every day, hard hat on, rolling out blueprints, directing workers. Dust and noise became the texture of life. Even after a shower at night, I still smelled of primer. I didn't care. A month later, the yard was unrecognizable. A open plan office, a model shop, a blackout room for lighting tests. I named the firm Lumen Vance. I designed the logo myself, a single beam snapped in the middle, light scattering wildly, yet rejoining on the far side, brighter than before. The night before launch, I stood alone in the center of the bare hall, switched on every fitting. The place blazed like noon. I walked to a freshly painted wall and projected the logo. Break, then mend. I stared a long time, then shut the lights, locked the gate, went home and slept. Business opened, no clients. I stared at empty benches while money burned. Rent, power, my own living costs. I scoured the web for government and corporate RFP bids, domestic, foreign. One caught my eye. Riverdale Planetarium needed a photovoltaic lighting skin for a new dome theater. Budget $30 million. I downloaded the specs, brutal, technically dense, and read until sunrise. Next day I started the proposal, folding in every idea I had for a breathing PV facade. The concept Chase had killed at Sterling Corp for being too idealistic, too costly, too unstable. I rebuilt every algorithm, every structural drawing, every light field simulation. A week later, I submitted. Lumen Vance. I reached the conference half an hour early. A vast meeting room already teamed with teams from Siemens, Honeywell, Panasonic, 17 global giants, all in suits, armed with laptops and grim faces. I arrived last, alone, and took a corner seat. By the time my turn came, the panel looked exhausted. Instead of PowerPoint, I plugged in a flash drive and played a single animation, my light simulation. My concept is called Breathe. By day, it drinks sunlight and turns it into power, but it's no dead wall. Each PV cell opens or closes with the sun, flinging moving patterns of light into the lobby. At night, the stored energy releases as swirling nebulae, erupting auroras. It is not cladding, it is the building skin talking to sky, to cosmos. When I finished, silence. A judge adjusted his glasses. Ms. Vance, your company is newly registered. How do we know you can deliver? Because I wrote every line of the code this system breathes. No one knows it better than I do. Half an hour later, the moderator stepped up. The winning bid, Lumen Vance. Gasps rippled. Rival reps exchanged stunned looks. I walked forward. The client's chief handed me a thick contract. I flipped to the last page and, on the blank line for contractor, wrote one word. Serena. For the first time, my name, alone, sat atop a $30 million deal. Planetarium paperwork rolled forward. I buried myself in it. That afternoon, I was in the blackout lab testing photosensitive panels when Zoe called, voice crackling with glee. Serena, Sterling Corp's product launch just exploded, literally. Their revolutionary smart headlamp fried during stress tests took the whole booth with it. The Series B backers froze the next 30 million tranche. The firm's cash flow is hanging by a thread. Did you do it? She asked.
No.
They deserved it. Without you, that shop is empty. Chase wouldn't know a diode from a donut. After hanging up, I found a new email from Chase. Subject, offer. Ms. Vance, the expo failure was my miscall. I've reassessed your value. The CTO seat at Sterling Corp is yours. $5 million salary. Come back. I hit reply. A cursor blinked in the blank field. I typed one sentence. Technology and morality. Don't reverse course. No greeting, no signature.
Send.
Then I deleted his message and blacklisted the address. I reopened the dome wall optics on my screen and kept drafting. I stopped following Sterling Corp headlines, but Zoe kept feeding me morsels. One afternoon she rang, vibrating with schadenfreude. Today's board meeting was a circus, Serena. Luna, your ex's Moonlight, trashed the prototype lighting package you left behind, called it obsolete and overpriced. She rolled out her own optimized version and rammed it through. Then, during the investor demo, that car's light system self-immolated, burnt to a charcoal frame in front of everybody. Down payment on the damage, $20 million and climbing. I paused my load-bearing calculations. And Chase lost it. He hurled a stack of documents at her and yelled, "Shut up," in front of the entire board. She burst into tears. He finally seized the deadweight? Too late. Leaning back, I said, "Not funny. That package was built for a budget model. Core principles were stability and safety, margins shaved to the bone. The only way to optimize further is cheaper heat sinking, short, fire, inevitable. That's not cluelessness, it's lethal idiocy." I ended the call. On the monitor, the planetarium facade's light paths pulsed. My new world, severed from the old. At 11 p.m., the dome shell stood in darkness. Only my console glowed. I spoke into the headset. Zone A, 3D mapping initiate. I hit enter. Hundreds of laser projectors answered at once, stitching the night with threads of green fire. Beams of light wove themselves across the glass facade, flowing like a rainstorm that made no sound. That was the title of this chapter, Laser Rain. The console screen scrolled data at lightning speed. Report, Zone A illuminance is 3% below target. A text voice crackled in my headset.
Copy that.
I pulled up the back-end algorithm and started tweaking parameters. Footsteps sounded behind me. I didn't turn. A thermos was set gently beside the keyboard. I took off the headphones, Dr. Hale. Still at it, he asked.
Yeah.
He twisted the lid. A puff of steam rose from the wonton soup inside. Eat a little first. I shook my head. The numbers are off, no appetite. He didn't press. He simply stood there, shoulder to shoulder with me, both of us staring at the screen. Refraction index problem. He tapped a jagged curve. Surprised, I looked at him. You know optics? Enough, he said. Every photovoltaic tile on your curtain wall is canted at a different angle. With varying incident angles, energy loss varies too. I zoomed the model. He was right. I'll have to recalibrate every single tile's incline. I'll help. He dragged a chair, sat. I ran the master console. He cross-checked the data. Side by side, heads almost touching. We watched the same flickering graphs. I lost track of time. When I turned to ask for a figure, I saw him, Chase. He lingered in the shadow of the doorway, 20 meters away, windcoat black and dusted with road grit. License tech to here, 2 odd hours, nearly 200 kilometers. He said nothing, just stood, looking at Dr. Hale and me together beneath the laser downpour I'd authored. Light strobed across his face, splitting it into bright and dark halves. His expression I couldn't read. Dr. Hale noticed too. He paused, glanced my way. I faced forward, headphones back on. Continue. Dr. Hale hesitated, then nodded. We carried on. Neither of us looked again at the silhouette. We ignored him. Work continued. An hour later, the final parameter locked. I hit the master switch. Instantly, the sky-wide laser rain vanished. The spherical wall faded into black. Silence, thick, sudden. I removed the headset, rubbed my temples. Done, I told Dr. Hale. He pointed at the now cold bowl. Still want some? No hunger, but I lifted a spoonful anyway. The wrapper had congealed, tasteless, cold. I glanced toward the entrance. The shadows were empty. He'd left. I'll drive you home, Dr. Hale offered. No need, my car's here. We shut the console down, locked the planetarium gate. Only 2 vehicles dotted the lot. Get some rest, he said, opening my door. You too. I started the engine and left. Instead of home, I aimed for the shipyard. At 2 a.m., the elevated loop was deserted. I parked at the workshop gate and stayed seated, staring at the distant harbor lights. My phone vibrated. A WhatsApp from Chase, just one line. Serena, the light won't turn on. I stared at the words. The light won't turn on. In 7 years, I'd heard it countless times. Lab lamps, living room bulbs, client sample fixtures. Every time I'd fix them. Not this time. I didn't reply. I opened his profile photo. The 2 of us on a company retreat, sunrise behind us on the summit. Top right menu, 3 dots, block this contact.
Confirm.
The chat window evaporated. I tossed the phone to the passenger seat, folded my arms on the steering wheel, and lay my head down. Outside, quiet, so quiet I heard nothing at all. Surgery day, I went to the hospital alone. Dr. Hale had wanted to come. I refused. Some roads you walk by yourself. A nurse handed me a clipboard of fine print. I signed the last line without reading. They wheeled me into a cold room. The surgical light glared white. A doctor spoke softly beside my ear. Relax, have a nap. It'll be over when you wake. A mask settled over my face. Deep breaths. Countdown from 10.
10, 9, 8.
When I woke, night had fallen. A single wall lamp glowed. I flexed my fingers, and 4 needled the back of my hand. Drip, drip, silent droplets. A dull ache throbbed low in my abdomen. Something had been taken out of me forever. I turned my head. Dr. Hale sat carving an apple. Hearing me stir, he looked up. Awake. He set the fruit and knife aside. Came to the bed. Any discomfort? I shook my head. My throat was sand. No voice. I mouthed, help me. He brought a cup of warm water to my lips. 1 swallow, and I felt alive again. Book me a flight, I rasped. 3 days from now, to Eastbrook. He showed no surprise, only nodded. Okay. From the nightstand, he lifted a thermos, poured a dark liquid. Ginger scent filled the room, sweet, spicy. Brown sugared ginger tea. Warms you up. He held the cup. I didn't move. He placed it on the table, no insistence. Only the monitor's faint beeping broke the hush. Serena. He used my full name, voice quiet, eyes steady in the lamplight. From now on, take care of yourself first, then take care of the light. My hand lay outside the quilt, chilled. I slid it under the blanket, pushed myself upright, reached for the tea, and drank it, scalding, syrupy, until the last drop. Eastbrook. The award hall buzzed with Italian I didn't understand. I sat 3rd row corner, while a young interpreter whispered. After lyrical flourishes, the host called my name. The Wall of Polar Day. Gold prize. From China, Serena. A spotlight pinned me, bright and blinding. I stood, smoothed my gown, climbed the steps. A white-bearded chairman handed me a weighty metal trophy, smiled, hugged me, said, "Congratulations." At the microphone, I faced a dark sea of faces, cleared my throat. Jordan. For years, I designed light for others. Today, this beam shines for me. I bowed and walked off. Back in the hotel near dawn, my phone pulsed silently on the duvet, screen lighting, dimming lighting. I ignored it, showered first. When I came out, Zoe's video call burst through. I accepted. Her excited face filled the frame. "Serena, you legend. Domestic media's gone nuclear. Youngest ever PLDC gold. Holy crap." I toweled my hair, smiling. "You're trending, exploding." Am I? I grabbed my spare phone. Open Weibo. #1 hashtag blazed purple. Hashtag Serena leaves no light for X. Top post stitched my acceptance speech to exposés of ghost designing for licensed tech, then compared my winning project to their latest self-igniting concept car. Comments scrolled like machine gun fire. "Queen. Reclaim every lumen." Ex-hubby's face must be greener than his logos, karma. Real heroine script. Become the sun. Leave shadows for the past. I exited the app. "See it?" Zoe asked. "Satisfying."
Mild, I said.
"Not vengeance, just retrieving what was mine." A message waited. "Dr. Hale." "Congrats." I replied, "Jordan," and tossed the phone on the bed. I drew the heavy curtain. Eastbrook glittered below. I set the gold trophy on the windowsill. 7 years. Finally, I held my light in my own hands. Back home, I skipped rest and returned to the shipyard workshop. The planetarium job was closing, but new files already blanketed my desk. Stay busy, time flies. Until Zoe rang again. Voice lottery high. "Serena, Megaton News." I tapped dimensions into a bridge illumination drawing. Phone on speaker.
Shoot.
License tech is toast. My stylist paused. 12 partners jointly suing. $1.5 billion in damages. Court froze assets. $6 million left in the account. I said nothing, resumed sketching. "But here's the fireworks finale," she squealed. "Last night your White Moon ex, Luna, tried a midnight vanishing act, transferring the $4 million performance bond to her mom's offshore pocket before liquidation." I set the pen down. "Did it go through? If it had, would I be screaming?" Zoe cackled. "Derek, remember their CFO? Total hawk." He flagged her, stormed in with security the second her cursor hit send. Supposedly, Derek asked, "Does Ellis know about this transfer, Miss Sterling?" Luna insisted Chase approved. So Derek video called Chase on the spot. Chase's face went paper white on screen. "Luna, what the hell are you doing?" Caught red-handed, Derek dialed 911 for embezzlement. Outside the window, a freighter sounded its horn across the river. When walls fall, everyone pushes. When trees topple, monkeys scatter, I murmured.
Ha!
Nothing. Where's Chase now? Where else? Outside the precinct, waiting for his vanished moon to reappear. I hung up. The drawing showed a bridge of light spanning dark water. No way back. A week later, the Riverdale plum rains arrived. Day after day of downpour. At 10 p.m., I stepped out of the workshop under a heavy umbrella, heading for the parking lot, and stopped. A man stood beside my car. No umbrella. Soaked to the bone.
Chase.
I ignored him, walked straight to the driver's door. "Serena." His voice barely cut through the rain. I pressed the fob. Headlights flashed once.
10 minutes, he begged.
I climbed in, shut the door. He reached to stop it. I closed it anyway. Starting the engine, I drove past him. In the rear-view mirror he remained, motionless in the rain. Next morning the sky was still gray, though the rain had paused. He was there, same spot, waiting. I was still wearing yesterday's clothes, damp and wrinkled. My face was pale. I got out of the car and walked toward the workshop's rolling door. He stepped in front of me. "Serena." He used my full name. 10 minutes. His voice was hoarse, like sandpaper scraping wood. "I'm in a hurry." I sidestepped him and kept walking. He followed. "The company's gone, I know. It's all my fault. I just want to explain about Luna and..." I'd already reached the shutter. I took out my key and reached for the lock. I never meant to steal your light. He spoke behind me. I turned the key. I faced him. For the first time since the divorce, I looked at him without fire or ice. He had lost weight. His jaw was stubbled blue. His eyes were road-mapped with red veins. No designer suit, no borrowed halo.
Just a man.
A broken, emptied man. Chase, I said. Do you think standing here all night earns my pity? He said nothing, only parted his lips. Or, because you're ruined, I should cry for you? I smiled. 7 years. You vanished for 7. Now you want 10 minutes back? I gripped the door's pull strap. My light only shines ahead. I yanked. A clatter of metal. The heavy curtain slammed down between us. Finished. That day Zoe called again. I was wearing goggles, calibrating a fresh batch of lens modules. Fine work. My hands couldn't shake. I put the phone on speaker. Talk. Serena, licensed tech hired a third-party forensics firm to gut their servers. Zoe sounded thrilled. Investors demanded it for the lawsuits. I kept silent, slotting a lens into its groove. Guess what? They reconstructed every project file from day one, 7 years ago. Every hit product's optic profile, every core algorithm iteration, every final patent lock file. She stretched the moment. The last signature on each one is 3 letters. She spelled it.
SEZ.
My hand froze. I lifted the goggles and killed the bench light. Only the power supply hummed. My guy was in the room. When that 40-page report hit the projector, everyone went stone silent. Chase stood in front of the screen staring at SYZ for 10 straight minutes, speechless. The last page was the kicker. Every tech wall licensed tech ever had was built by an unlisted contributor, SYZ. Legally, ownership is a minefield. I reached for my water. It was cold. Then, I asked. Derek handed him a copy. Chase read it forever. Finally, he told Derek, I thought I'd bought a shell. Turns out she gave me the entire core. I set the cup down. Serena, you hear that? He knows. Zoe was jubilant. He knows his whole tower was poured by you, walled by you, roofed by you. So what? I answered calm. She went quiet. The tower already collapsed. I hung up, lowered the goggles, relit the bench. On the table lay my own drawings, my own project, brick by brick, mine. My tower had only broken ground. That afternoon, I was mid-meeting. Client, the city's new children's palace. Huge budget, sky-high specs. They wanted an interactive galaxy. My phone buzzed Zoe. I excused myself and stepped into the corridor. I'm in a meeting, I warned. 60 seconds you'll thank me for. Her whisper crackled. Go. Luna's on the run. Leaning against the glass wall, I watched clouds drift. Emptied the last 2 million, heading for Iceland. And Financial Crimes Unit cuffed her at the gate, cash and carry. I said nothing. The news felt dull. That's not the kicker, Zoe continued.
Chase.
Cops made him watch the interrogation feed. Luna sobbed pretty, confessed everything. Says she borrowed the money to plug her dad's investment hole. Claims she wasn't fleeing, just needed Nordic air. I almost laughed. He stood through the whole tape mute. Then they slid him her background file. Remember her ringtone? That piano piece, Midnight Sun. She said she wrote. I remembered. Chase once called it the purest sound he'd ever heard. Stolen note for note. A Finnish indie composer posted it 10 years ago. Luna didn't change a semicolon. My guy says Chase stared at the comparison sheet forever. Then he laughed, told the officer beside him. I waited. Turns out even her song was shoplifted. In that instant something inside me snapped clean. Not hate, not love. A wire I hadn't noticed. Tension for years.
Gone.
Silence. Serena? Still there? Here. I stirred. I need to go, clients waiting. Back in the room, I smiled apologies. Sorry, let's continue. About the starfield. My plan. Give every star its own program. They won't just shine, they'll breathe. With the workshop humming, I was busier than ever. Drawings by day, clients by night. One evening I returned from the Children's Palace site. Car parked. I sat a moment. A text from Zoe. Just a video, no caption. I tapped play. Shaky footage shot across the street. The old license tech tower. A crane's iron claw gripping the huge sign that read license tech and ZHOU optics. The claw opened. The wall of logos crashed, rubble dust blooming. The lens wobbled, then zoomed. Amid the debris stood Chase. Motionless, he stared at the fragments. Finally, he walked in, kicking through chunks. He bent, searching. The image jittered, closing in. He lifted something small, white, snapped in half. The 3D printed daylight ring. He laid the two pieces in his palm and just stood there. End of clip. I blacked the screen. The garage was dark, silent. I sat a minute. Then I held the video down and pressed delete.
Confirm?
I tapped yes. Zoe messaged. Did you see? He dug their love token from the wreck. I typed back. It wasn't love. It was the carcass of a failed prototype. I tossed the phone onto the passenger seat, drove to my spot, beside a brand new EV charger. The Children's Palace job moved like clockwork. We spent a full week on site. One night, crossing the river bridge home, my phone rang. Zoe on Bluetooth. Serena, check Weibo. Excitement vibrated in her voice. What? Chase posted a confession. Long form, public. I kept driving. He admitted everything. Every license tech patent came from you. He said the entire Jolite project was yours alone. He apologized to investors, to fired staff, last to you. Top hashtag exploded. The car was quiet except for her.
Serena?
He's giving back what he stole. I pulled over and hit the hazard lights. I rarely used Weibo. It took a moment to log in. The top tag read, hashtag Taylor hashtag. I opened it. His post stretched for pages. I skimmed. My name.
SEZ.
Wall of perpetual day. He wrote, I hijacked her genius, betrayed her trust. Comment count rocketing, tens of thousands. Say something, curse him, laugh, anything. Zoe pleaded. I hit repost and typed, eyes forward, no looking back.
Send.
Log out. What did you write? She asked. Nothing important. I'm driving. I merged back into the river of lights, each with its own destination. For 3 days, my phone was silent. Day 4. Zoe relayed that License Tech had officially filed for bankruptcy. Court accepted, corporate death certificate signed. I was in the pantry brewing coffee. And then, I asked, pressing the machine. Liquidators are cataloging everything for auction. Cars, condos, shares, anything saleable. Someone saw him leave the Riverside loft with one suitcase and an old laptop. I sipped. The coffee scalded. I said, he's not down to nothing. He still has the suitcase and the computer. She went quiet. I remembered. The day I got my first paycheck, I bought him that machine. All the original daylight code had been typed on it letter by letter. Now it was all he had left. Fine.
Zoe sighed.
That's really it? That's it. I hung up, carried my mug to the desk. Morgan walked in, cradling a stack of folders. Ms. Vance, new RFPs. And last quarter's report, profits 12 points above projection. She placed the figures on top. I flipped to the summary. A very pretty number. I signed. Serena. Double bonuses company-wide, I told her. And start hiring. We're expanding. We need more people if we're going to make more light. After the expansion notice went out, Morgan's inbox practically detonated. Every day, she hugged a stack of freshly printed resumes to her chest and shuttled, long-faced, between my office and the conference room. Ms. Vance, there are too many. I can't keep up. I didn't lift my head, still reading a line-item budget. Raise the bar. We're not short of warm bodies. We're short of people who can work. She answered with a quiet got it, took the pile, and left. About 30 minutes later, she was back. This time, she carried only one sheet. She set it on my desk with the caution you'd give a hot coal. Ms. Vance. Her voice sounded parched. Take a look. I glanced up, annoyed. Didn't I tell you to do first-round cuts? I can't screen this one. I picked it up. Item 1 name.
Chase.
I froze. Then I kept reading. Position applied for lighting design assistant. Employment history, a single terse line. Sterling Tech, founder, CEO. 7 years. Education, project history, every block filled. A lot of those projects I had worked on. Now he'd copy them onto paper and come asking to be my assistant. I set the sheet down. The office was very quiet. Morgan stood opposite me, not daring to breathe. I pulled a red marker from the cup, uncapped it. At the bottom of the page, in blank space, I wrote 2 lines. Insufficient professional competence. High ethical risk. 3 final words. Do not hire. I capped the pen with a soft click, handed the page back to Morgan. File it. She took it, stared at the red letters, opened her mouth, closed it. One more thing, I said as she turned. Call a meeting for 3 p.m., Children's Palace Phase 2. Tell engineering to have the latest light simulation video ready. Yes, Ms. Vance. She hurried out, clutching the paper. I retrieved the budget file and found my place. Where was I? Right. LED procurement cost could still drop another 5 points. The Children's Palace meeting ran until 9. When it ended, I didn't go home. I rode the elevator to the roof of the workshop. It had been an abandoned terrace. I'd had a few chairs dragged up. I like to watch the light we make. From the roof, the whole campus lay outlined in warm yellow ground lights and wall washers, quiet, gentle. Footsteps behind me. I didn't turn. Security knows my habit. They never bother me. The steps halted 3 meters away. Serena. It was Chase. I still didn't face him. The absurdity struck me. He'd actually sneaked onto my turf. Your security needs replacing, I said. He didn't answer. He moved to my side. 1 step between us. The expensive woody scent I remembered was gone. Only a faint trace of plain soap remained. I came to give this back. He opened his hand. In it, 2 yellowed shards of cracked plastic, the broken daylight ring. I looked down at the trash, said nothing. I tried to glue it. It wouldn't hold. He spoke again. I know once something's broken, it stays broken. But I wanted to try. He lifted his gaze to me. Gone was the old light of someone who owned the world. Only exhaustion remained. Let me prove myself one more time? He asked it softly, almost shaking. I finally met his eyes. Then I reached out. He thought I would take the pieces and quickly place them in my palm, weightless like 2 withered leaves. I lifted my hand to my lips and blew gently. The shards slipped through my fingers and drifted off the roof, down into the dark dozens of meters below. He froze, staring at my empty hand. I slid it back into my pocket. Chase. Eyes on the city lights. I spoke evenly. Once light goes out, that wavelength never comes back. I turned away and walked off without another look. No sound behind me. I took the elevator straight to the basement garage. I sat in the car, but didn't start it. Called security. Emery, someone slipped into the building today. Yes, the roof. Pull all badge logs and video, and find out how. I don't want a second try. After hanging up, I drove home. The next month was calm. The workshop landed a big job. The full lighting design for the city's new landmark, SkySpire. Some world-class firms competed in the final round. We won. The core of our proposal was my redesign of the Polar Day Wall. I renamed it Aurora. On signing day, the client held a small press conference. The strobes were blinding. A reporter lobbed a sharp question. Ms. Vance, your Aurora concept seems close to Sterling Tech's earlier daylight project. Any connection? The client rep beside me blanched. I raised the mic. None whatsoever. Good design can share basic logic or tech paths. But the soul is different. Daylight was one man's light. Aurora belongs to every early riser in this city. Silence. Then came a louder volley of shutter clicks. When it ended, I skipped the celebration. I had the driver drop me at SkySpire's worksite. The tower's shell was finished. Glass panels were going in. I put on a hard hat and rode the hoist alone to the top. The wind howled. On the bare deck, I gazed at the city below. Streams of headlights, neon canyons. My phone vibrated. A message from Zoe. A photo. Inside a 24-hour convenience store. Chase in a blue clerk's vest, stacking bottles into a cooler. Thinner, long hair, haggard. I stared. Then I pressed delete. I looked at the skyline. In a few months, this city's highest point will hold a new light, a light that banishes night and greets every dawn. My light, Serena's light. SkySpire entered its final phase. I practically lived on site, leading crews hundreds of meters in the air to mount and aim thousands of fixtures, every beam's angle, color temperature, and lumen output precise to the millimeter and the digit. Morgan begged me to go home. She said I looked worse than the rebar. I refused. This was my piece. I would watch it leap from drawing to real light. One night, the crew finished tuning at 3 a.m. I stepped out through the temporary gate, ready to drive home. The streets were empty. As I yanked my door open, I spotted a man standing across the road, head tilted up at the unlit tower. It was Chase. Threadbare coat, washed colorless. Much thinner. Wind whipped his long hair. He didn't move, hadn't for who knows how long. I climbed in, started the engine. Headlights swept over him. He sensed it and shifted his gaze from tower to car. Across the wide avenue, I couldn't read his face. I didn't stop. I only eased off the accelerator as I passed. He had come to see his failure and my triumph. A street and a lifetime lay between us. I stepped on the gas and kept going, never looking back. Tomorrow there was still a full shift. In 1 week, Aurora would fire up for the city for the first time. Tonight was the official illumination of SkySpire. The client threw a gala on the observation deck. I didn't attend. I stayed on the roof of another building 100 meters away, in Aurora's auxiliary control room. Besides a handful of my core engineers, no one else was there. Morgan stood beside me, walkie-talkie in hand, finalizing cues with the main stage. Ms. Vance, main stage ready. 1 minute countdown. I nodded, eyes on the large console. Rows of faders and buttons. Only one mattered. The red master trigger under my hand. 10, 9, 8. The MC's voice crackled. My breathing stayed even. 3, 2, 1. On the final beat, I pressed. No sound, but outside, the world flared. Warm light erupted at SkySpire's base and surged upward, section after section, reaching the 400-meter crown in seconds. The tower became an enormous torch stabbed into the heart of the city, its glow spilling across half the night sky. Cheers exploded through the speaker. Morgan and 2 techs hugged, laughing through tears. I never turned. I kept watching the light, my light. From tonight onward, it would be the city's icon, showing up in countless photos, videos, memories, and it will belong only to me. After a long moment, I took out my phone. Chase's name was still in contacts, never deleted. I tapped it, pressed delete. A box popped up. Delete this contact? Confirmed. The name vanished forever. I slid the phone back. The celebration still roared behind me. I faced the crew. Let's go get late-night food, my treat. We picked a plastic tent street-side grill near the site. Folding tables, low stools. Beer bottles and skewer sticks piled up fast. Morgan and the youngsters were already red in the face. They lined up to clink glasses with me, repeating the same compliments. Ms. Vance, that was insane. Aurora's epic. I'm bragging on this forever. I matched them, glass for glass. Cold beer, scorching stomach. I felt nothing, only stared at the sky-piercing beam, tinting the horizon gold. My phone rang. It was Zoe. I stepped onto the curb outside the tent, lit a cigarette. Yeah. Serena, have you seen the news? She blurted. What news? Chase is in the hospital. Someone found him passed out on the curb across from SkySpire an hour ago. Doctors say malnutrition plus standing in the rain. Sam. I watched the cigarette ember flare in the wind. Family? I asked. Family disowned him ages ago, she snapped. Serena, I know it's over between you. But right now he's an emergency at First People's, alone, no one there. I finished the smoke, crushed it under my shoe. Not my problem. I hung up. Back inside, Morgan was still whooping. The skewers had gone cold. I grabbed my jacket. Ms. Vance, where to? Morgan called.
Keep eating.
Bills paid. I started the car, merged onto the elevated freeway. To my left, SkySpire rose like a beacon. Aurora bathed the road ahead of me in its glow. Thank you for listening. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this story? If you enjoyed it, please like and share. We look forward to your comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories. See you next time.